Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now. Ceasefire. So I want to welcome with such gratitude our guest for this morning, Mosab Abu Toha. Welcome, welcome. And I am so grateful for all of the miracles of technology and time and the work it took you to be here with us. We are so blessed by your presence.
Thank you so much, Alyssa.
But if only I was Alyssa, I would be so proud. By way of extended introduction, because rabbis are long-winded, I want to share with you all that I think about the character Serach constantly. Serach is the daughter in our Torah of Asher, granddaughter of Yaakov, our ancestor. She is the one who tells her grandfather that his son Joseph is alive by singing to him while he prays. So Jacob blesses her with a long life, and the Midrash imagines that she then lives not only through the travel into Mitzrayim, the good days in Goshen, but also through the generations of enslavement and through the liberation of the Jewish people and through the desert. She even appears in the rabbi's house of study to correct facts they get wrong about the Exodus. Serach is blessed with a long life and witness because of her poetry, and because of the necessity and unique way she can take in the magnitude of her people's story, their suffering, their power, their resilience. And so Serach becomes a record keeper for them and for the generations. Audre Lorde wrote in 1985, "In poetry is not a luxury. For women then, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. It forms the quality of the light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams toward survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into tangible action." Our guest this morning, Mosab Abu Toha's heartbreaking piece, published in The New Yorker, of your family's escape out of Gaza and your brutal, brutal treatment by the Israeli military. In this piece, he writes the following. In a state of siege, the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish writes something that is difficult to translate. Quote, "We do what jobless people do," he says. "We raise hope." Back to Abu Toha. He writes, the verb nurabi, meaning to raise or rear, is what a parent does for a child or what a farmer does for crops. Hope is a difficult word for Palestinians. It is not something that others give us, but something that we must cultivate and care for on our own. We have to help hope grow. Mosab Abu Toha is a Palestinian poet from Gaza. His debut poetry book, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, is a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award and won an American Book Award. We, the collected congregation of Jews and allies and rabbis for Ceasefire, we are so deeply honored to welcome you, Mosab Abu Toha, to share your story and your teaching at this Shabbat for Ceasefire.
Thank you so much for inviting me, for giving me this space to share some of the stories that that I have in my heart and mind. And I pray for a ceasefire, as soon as possible. Palestine is a story away. The late Rifat al-Arair would always tell me, Palestine is a poem away. I would respond to Rifat. And you and everyone in the world, to you and everyone in the world, I say, humanity and freedom are a breath away. The only thing we need to do is to breathe well. It's been 104 days since Israel started to bomb Gaza nonstop. They have killed over 30,000 Gazans, more than half of whom are children. They have blown up schools and posted videos of it. They have bombed hospitals and clinics. Now, while I'm addressing you, there are only 6 ambulances working in North Gaza, an area separated from the southern part of the Gaza Strip by the Israeli tanks and snipers. and where more than 500,000 Gazans still live. My parents, my siblings, and their children are part of those 500,000 people. If you think about this carefully, you learn that for every 100,000 Gazans, there is only one ambulance. Will this ambulance be for a bleeding child, for a pregnant mother, for an ailing grandparent? But can they be saved? Unfortunately, no. Even if some members of a bombed family survive, there is no mobile phone service in Gaza. Israel was cruel enough to shut down everything in Gaza. Not only water and food, but also communication services. The only way people in Gaza can communicate through is by using an eSIM card with foreign connections. Gazans finally broke the siege. Many of my friends worldwide were begging me to leave the northern part of Gaza and head south. I asked them whether it's not Israel's plan to cram people in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, so it would become easier for their warplanes and artillery shells to kill as many people as they can. They had no idea. As of this time, more than 1 million people are crowded upon each other in tents in Rafah, South Gaza. Does this mean that there is no bombing there? No. Just a few hours ago, Israel bombed a house in East Rafah, killing 16 people, half of whom were children. And this is what has been happening for weeks and weeks. The Israeli military even bombed a tent in Khan Yunis last week, killing a few people from the Habib family. A few days ago, after my friend Ismail Abu Ghaben left the northern part of the Gaza Strip to the south, to the southern part, the house in the Nusayrat refugee camp where he stayed with his wife and 2 kids, his father also was killed in that attack. Ismail was staying in a house in a Nusayrat refugee camp in South Gaza, and the house where he was staying with his wife and their 2 kids, his parents also, and his 2 sisters got bombed. Only Ismail's wife and his two sisters survived. Ismail taught the Arabic language at an UNRWA school. His father, also killed in that attack, was an education specialist at UNRWA. Talking about UNRWA, yesterday we heard that, 2 days ago, we heard that the UNRWA Commissioner General was denied permit to enter North Gaza. Ismail and his family are not rare cases. There are hundreds of similar examples. In Gaza, we are not numbers. We are not examples. And by the way, Ismail's body and the bodies of his parents and his other siblings and also children are still under the rubble for the past over 5-6 weeks. Nasim Abu Shidq was born deaf and mute. On December the 9th, Nasim, along with other young people, were taking shelter in an UNRWA school in North Gaza, but they were taken by the army on December the 9th. He was blindfolded and handcuffed, and he was taken to the Kamal Udwan hospital. They were forced to take off all their clothes. The following day, Nasim was released. He hurried back to find his 4-year-old child at a school and to fetch what he could of their clothes and blankets. Nasim, in a picture I shared on social media, could be seen wearing a doctor's uniform. That was the only kind of clothes Nasim could find. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the school, a sniper shot Nasim killed. Nasim's body was left out for hours outside of the school, with no one being able to bring his body inside to bury it, for fear that the sniper would shoot them again. I'm talking to you from Cairo, where I'm staying with my wife and 3 kids, the youngest of whom is 3 years old, who helped us get out of Gaza. Whereas everyone in the world on Christmas Day were visiting their families and friends and exchanging kisses and hugs, I was unable to contact my parents and siblings and their children, the youngest of whom was 4 months old. I could not be sure whether my mother and father had food to eat or water to drink, whether they were breathing. I was born 31 years ago in a refugee camp, just a few kilometers from where Jesus was born. People in the world were commemorating the birth of Jesus, while we are still mourning the death of our family members. Once as the Israeli tanks retreated from certain areas in Gaza, Gazans discovered corpses, mostly of children decaying in the streets and under the rubble of houses. Children constitute around half of Gaza's population. After each airstrike and artillery shelling, children, along with their parents and siblings, lose their lives. They have been buried under the rubble of their bedrooms, which used to be their playrooms. I'm trying to imagine the future of these kids who have witnessed at least 4 wars in the past 9 years. Those children who were amputated from under the rubble or lost members of their families. What will become of them? I'm sure that not even the smartest psychologist or psychiatrist can fathom a right answer. In Gaza, we are not asking the world to impose a two-state solution right now, nor are we asking for the bringing back of the lives of our children and family members. We are asking the world to impose a ceasefire as soon as they hear our words. After a ceasefire, drones can stay in the sky. We don't mind anyone watching us retrieve the bodies of our beloved ones. We don't mind the whole world watching us rebuild our houses and schools and plant our gardens with flowers. May next year come while Palestinians have their own airport and seaport, because it's been my dream not only to see Gaza from a plane window and from a distant ship, but to also take my family and friends to Times Square on Christmas Day, to have lunch in Washington, D.C., and later to show them the elegant campuses I visited. I would also love to welcome my international friends, including you, to Gaza, to take you and then to the strawberry farms in Beit Lahia, and to watch the sunset on our beach. For peace and for children and for humanity, let there be a ceasefire. I'm going to read 3 poems, one of which is mine, and the other 2 are by fellow Gazan poets who are still under fire. What a Gazan should do during an Israeli airstrike. This is my poem. What a Gazan should do during an Israeli airstrike. Turn off the lights in every room. Sit in the inner hallway of the house, away from the windows. Stay away from the stove. Stop thinking about making black tea. Have a bottle of water nearby, big enough to cool down children's fear. Get a child's kindergarten backpack and stuff tiny toys and whatever amount of money there is, and the ID cards and photos of late grandparents, aunts or uncles, and grandparents' wedding invitation that's been kept for a long time. And if you are a farmer, you should put some strawberry seeds in one pocket and some soil from the balcony flower pot in the other, and hold on tight to whatever number there was on the cake from the last birthday. I don't know if I still have the other 2 poems by my fellow Gazans. Let me just see it. I think it's on my phone. So one is by a poet named Ni'ma Hassan. I'm sorry about this. Let me conclude by quoting Mahmoud Darwish. He said, I have learned and dismantled all the words in order to draw from them a single word, home. And he also said, poetry and beauty are always making peace. When you read something beautiful, you find coexistence. It breaks walls down. And I'm wondering where the poets and writers of the world are, how many poems have been written to shield the children of Gaza. So today, let's together break the walls down and plant new and evergreen trees in their places. Let's break down the walls of hatred and war and plant trees of love and peace. Let's gather all the alphabets in the whole world and draw a masterpiece for everyone to live and rise. Let's draw a colorful home for everyone. Let's draw Palestine with our words and fill our and other people's hearts with only one liquid, love, the elixir of life. Thank you.